On the early morning of August 5, 1962, the world awoke to devastating news. Marilyn Monroe, Hollywood's brightest and most enigmatic star, was dead. The official report claimed it was a probable suicide caused by acute barbiturate poisoning, yet for more than 6 decades, her death has remained one of the most disputed and haunting mysteries in modern history. Behind the glamour, behind the smile that lit up the screen, Marilyn's life had become a tangle of fame, loneliness, and secrets that seemed too dangerous to die with her. Marilyn Monroe was born Norma Jean Mortensen in 1926, a child of instability and longing. Her childhood was shaped by foster homes, absence, and the search for love. Out of that turbulence emerged a woman who transformed herself into the ultimate embodiment of beauty and sensuality. By the 1950s, she was not just a movie star. She was the image of America's fantasy. Her films like Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, The 7-Year Itch, and Some Like It Hot made her a household name. But beneath the fame, there was a fragile spirit, wrestling with insecurities, dependence on medication, and a desperate need to be taken seriously as an actress and a person. Those close to her spoke of sleepless nights, sudden mood swings, and her growing reliance on sleeping pills and barbiturates. Her professional life was unraveling. She had been dismissed from her film Something S Got to Give due to repeated absences and emotional instability. Even her relationships with Joe DiMaggio, Arthur Miller, and reportedly the Kennedy brothers carried both passion and pain. Marilyn's world, by the summer of 1962, was a tightrope between stardom and collapse. On the night of August 4th, she returned to her home on 5th Helena Drive in Brentwood, Los Angeles. Her housekeeper, Eunice Murray, was present, as well as her psychiatrist, Dr. Ralph Greenson, and her physician, Dr. Hyman Engelberg. Throughout the evening, Marilyn spoke with several people on the phone. She sounded tired, perhaps melancholy, but not overtly suicidal according to those who last spoke with her. Then, sometime past midnight, something changed. The light in her bedroom remained on. The door was locked. Her phone line went dead. At around 3:30 a.m., Dr. Greenson broke through the window and found her lifeless body lying face down on the bed, clutching a telephone receiver in one hand. The coroner AS report concluded that Marilyn had died of an overdose, a lethal combination of chloral hydrate and pentobarbital. Several empty pill bottles were found beside her bed. No signs of struggle or forced entry were reported. The story, on paper, was simple: a tragic suicide. Another star crushed under the weight of fame, but for many, it never made sense. The timeline was uncertain, and the behavior of those around her that night, especially her housekeeper and doctors, raised red flags that never fully faded. Questions began to surface almost immediately. Why did it take so long to call the police? Why were there inconsistencies in the witness statements about when Marilyn was discovered? Why did the crime scene appear staged, with the bed neatly arranged and her body placed so deliberately? And why did the police arrive hours after Dr. Greenson supposedly found her? The official narrative seemed too convenient, too controlled, for a woman whose private life was entangled with some of the most powerful men in America. The autopsy revealed high concentrations of barbiturates in her blood and liver, levels that could not have been ingested gradually, but in a short, concentrated burst. Yet no traces of pill residue were found in her stomach. If she swallowed that much medication, where were the remains? Some doctors later speculated that the drugs may have been administered by another means, perhaps an injection or an enema, both theories that never made it into the official report. Her associations with President John F. Kennedy and his brother Robert F. Kennedy became the centerpiece of speculation. Some claimed Marilyn had been silenced because she knew too much about government secrets or affairs of state, others that she threatened to expose her relationships with the Kennedys. Witnesses later alleged that Robert Kennedy visited her house on the day of her death, something that, if true, would have been politically catastrophic at the time. The official records never confirmed his presence, but the rumors persisted, gaining strength with every passing decade. In 1982, 2 decades after her death, the Los Angeles District Attorney reopened the case to examine whether she might have been murdered. After reviewing hundreds of documents, police files, and witness statements, the conclusion was that no credible evidence of homicide existed. Yet the report also acknowledged inconsistencies that could not be fully explained. They left the door open, if only slightly, to the possibility that something more had happened that night than a simple overdose. Theories surrounding Marilyn's death fall into 3 main camps. The first is the official one: suicide, a final act by a woman exhausted by her own pain. Marilyn had struggled with depression, rejection, and dependency for years. Her career was faltering, and the loneliness of fame was closing in. To many, her death was a tragic inevitability. The second theory suggests an accidental overdose. Marilyn was known to take various medications: sedatives, sleeping pills, tranquilizers, often prescribed by multiple doctors who may not have coordinated her dosages. It's possible she took too much by mistake, unaware of the lethal interaction between the different drugs in her system. Her physician himself later admitted that her medication management was chaotic at best. The third and most controversial theory is that Marilyn Monroe was murdered, either deliberately or accidentally, and that her death was covered up to protect powerful figures. Some believe she was given an overdose by injection or administered barbiturates in liquid form without her knowledge. Others think she died elsewhere and was brought back to her bedroom to stage a suicide. Her connection to the Kennedys, her knowledge of sensitive political conversations, and her rumored intent to hold a press conference in the days before her death fueled the suspicion that she was silenced. No credible proof ever emerged to support the murder theory. Yet the inconsistencies in the reports, the conflicting witness accounts, and the strange gaps in the official timeline have kept it alive. Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in between. Marilyn may have died from her own despair, but the details were carefully managed afterward to avoid a scandal that could shake the highest levels of power. The mystery surrounding her death persists because it reflects the contradictions of her life. She was adored yet isolated, successful yet broken, a woman everyone claimed to know but few truly understood. She was both a symbol and a person, and in the end, the image outlived the woman. Her death wasn't just the end of a life, it was the birth of a myth that still echoes through Hollywood's history. When we look back on that night, we see not only the tragedy of a single woman, but the broader story of an industry that consumes its own. The coroner's report may have said probable suicide, but even that word, probable, left enough room for uncertainty to last a lifetime. Did Marilyn Monroe end her own life, or did someone else decide that her voice had become too dangerous? We may never know. What remains clear is that the world lost more than a movie star. It lost a dream, a symbol of beauty and vulnerability that still captivates generations. Marilyn Monroe lived in a world of illusion, and, perhaps fittingly, she died within one too. Her death, whether self-inflicted or concealed by others, became the final act of a life that blurred the line between truth and performance. She left behind an empty bedroom, a phone off the hook, a light still shining through the night, and a question that refuses to die. Was it despair, accident, or design? The answer, like Marilyn herself, remains just out of reach, suspended between the light of fame and the shadow of truth.